Hello and welcome everyone. So today we will look at another React interview problem. So in this problem, what we will do is we will create a simple infinite scrolling container in React. So what does an infinite scrolling container mean? It means like whenever there is a lot of content on the page, and when you scroll down to the page to the bottom of where the content is ending, so just when you get scrolled down to the bottom of the page, an additional content loads up, and it gets displayed just below the bottom of the page. So if I go to an example, if I go to google.com, uh, dummy results. So this means if I keep on scrolling down to the bottom, now since I've reached to the bottom, an additional content starts gets loading, and when the content is loaded, I see the content at the bottom, and then it keeps on going on and on until the content until the content is almost all over. So this is the same thing that you see when you go to Facebook or Instagram. So when you keep on scrolling down, additional content starts getting loaded, and it keeps on getting appended to the bottom of the page. So this is what infinite scrolling is. So with the help of this, you don't necessarily need to load all of the content at once. You just need to load some of the content at once, and when the user keeps on scrolling down, then you need to load additional content incrementally as and when the user keeps scrolling down. So let's try to implement this in code now. I will cancel this. So now let's create a variable const count set count. So this variable is used to keep track of how many elements we have on our DOM. I'll create a function render element to render elements on our DOM, and I'll create as many elements as much as there is count here. So let me return here a div, and I'll give it an ID of parent to access this later. Now here I'll access the parent using document dot get element by ID. Now I will loop through the count to create as many elements. So I'll create a p document dot create element p, and I'll give it a text content of I dot toString. I'm converting it into toString so that I can display the content in my DOM, and I will append this thing to the parent container. Now I'll call this render element as and when my component gets loaded. I'll call this render element, and I'll call this when my count changes. I'll re-trigger it when my count changes. And now here I'll call this. I'll declare elements here also as an array, and I'll just render elements here. Now let's run this. I see an error, return div. Okay, I need to remove this thing. Now we can see the components here, like we see 20 components here. I'll remove this, I'll refresh it, and I see 20 components here and additional 10 components here. So this is because since our component is getting rendered twice, I think that's why. I will do is I'll remove React strict mode here for now, and I'll run this. And if I see now, let me close this up. Yeah, now there are 20 elements here. Now what I will do is when the user, let's change it to 30 first, so that it overflows this container. Let's change it to 30 so it overflows the container. Yes, now we have a container here, we have a scrolling container here. Now what I want is, when I scroll to the bottom, I want more contents to get loaded here. So what I'll do is I'll create a function here, handle scroll. Here, I'll check if my window dot inner height plus my window dot scroll y is greater than equal to window dot document dot body dot offset height, then I need to call this function again and increase my set count. I increase it to count plus 30 and I'll call this function again, and I'll attach this handle scroll to my scroll event listener. So now when user scrolls, this event gets called and it checks for this condition. So this condition basically says that if my window inner height plus my scroll by position, so inner height is the inner height of the container that is visible to you in the viewport, scroll by is how much you have scrolled down to the bottom, and now this states that if this plus this, like if how much distance the user has scrolled down plus the viewport height is greater than equal to the total amount of content that is visible inside my document body, the total whole document body content. If this becomes greater than this, then that means we need to load additional content. If the user has scrolled down to the very bottom, then that means if the user scroll down to the very bottom, then this will exceed the whole document's body height, then that means we need to load additional content. So I will call this, and as a cleanup function, when my component unmounts, I want to remove the event listener so that there are no leaks. So I'll call this remove. Now I'll save this. Now as you can see, I'll refresh this again. Now when I scroll to the bottom, more content gets loaded. 0. If you see the scroll bar here, when I go to the bottom, the scroll bar will go to the top again. Yes. So this is the infinite scrolling container that we have implemented. So this was all for today, and I'll see you next one. Bye.